Canon just dropped the R5 firmware update 1.1. Did it significantly improve cooldown times, eliminate record limits in non-overheat modes, or increase overheat limits? I also have an update on the Pentax Silver Edition and Google Photos Direct Sync with Image.Canon. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning into The Ordinary Filmmaker. If you're new here, subscribe to get notification of new videos like this one so you don't miss any exciting news, rumors, or tutorials. And all the links to everything I talk about in this video, including gear discussed, are placed in the description down below, along with my affiliate links. So do you need camera gear and want to help support this channel? Well, consider using my affiliate links to Downtown Camera, B&H, or Amazon. Apple confirmed that Cinema Raw Lite is coming. In their latest Final Cut Pro release yesterday, Apple states that this release also introduces significant performance improvements with new metal-enabled plugins for Red Raw and Canon Cinema Raw Lite. Transcoding 8K Red Raw video to ProRes 422 is up to 2 times faster on a Mac Pro and up to 3 times faster on the MacBook Pro. And for the first time, Final Cut Pro editors can play and edit 8K Cinema Raw Lite. Sadly, tonight's R5 update did not drop Cinema Raw Lite, nor did it drop C-Log 2 or C-Log 3. But they are expected to come soon in another update, and I'd expect them to come sometime before Christmas. It certainly looks like Canon's adopting a more regular update period, much like Panasonic. But let's get to the other big news of the day. Canon just dropped a firmware update for the EOS R5. Gordon Lang was fortunate to have access to the firmware for 24 hours. Canon not only dropped a firmware, but explained the R5's heat management system and how it works before doing the update, and then explaining how the update fixes some of the issues that we encountered. Canon told him that the R5 has 3 separate temperature sensors. 2 of them are located internally and keep an eye on the internal temperature, while a third monitors ambient temperature. So all 3 of these sensors are used to determine the record time, the cool down time, and of course there's that dreaded timer. They didn't change the temperature that the R5 considers to be the overheat threshold, but Canon said that the R5 now reports temperatures more accurately to allow more recording in restricted modes and shorter cooldown times. Canon also said that the ambient temperature sensor plays a bigger role now, so if we put it in a fridge or a freezer, in a cold basement, or record in a cold Canadian winter, it can record longer and recover much quicker. Well, you know I'm going to be testing that out, right? This basement studio gets very cold in winter, so cold that when I'm editing, my fingers start to pretty well numb up. And of course, well, outside it gets pretty cold. Now, Gordon did do his own testing. He didn't just take Canon's word for it. After recording for 40 minutes in 4K HQ, that's 30 minutes and then another 10, he needed a full hour for the camera to fully recover. Now, this is better than the 2+ hours reported in Firmware 1.0. Now, some notable tests: he got 26 minutes of recording in 8K before the overheat set in. And in 4K 120, he found that he was able to record 96 30-second clips before overheating. Now this is compared to 30 before Firmware 1.0, so that's a 3-fold difference. A definite improvement for wedding photographers and people like me that do run and gun work. It's going to take more than 24 hours to see the full results of the firmware. I'll be monitoring performance every day I shoot, and I'll report what I learn as I learn it. If you have the R5, let me know if this firmware gives you more freedom. Oh, and by the way, I'm actually recording on the R5 right now with Firmware 1.1, so I'll probably do a behind-the-scenes piece right at the end of this to let you know if it gave me any more time. Oh, and one other notable fix for filmmakers: when using certain Canon RF lenses for movie shooting, the in-lens stabilization mechanism has been improved. And now for some less exciting news. Yesterday I told you about the Pentax K1 Mark II Silver Edition. Well, Ricoh just released the camera, and as expected, it has the same capabilities as the Mark I, including the 36 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor, the same autofocus system, and the same ISO range. Despite what some of you think, and you know who you are, people still shoot Pentax, and even if you don't, you've got to admit, the Silver Edition looks very nice. Looking at these pictures, it makes me want to get it just to have it as a prop in the studio. I love that retro look. Well done, Pentax. Looks gorgeous. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section down below. It's now possible to transfer your photos directly from your R5, R6 to Google Photos through Wi-Fi. To be able to do this, you need the following: the Image.Canon app, a Google One membership, and a compatible Canon camera. Google's offering 1 month free to get the word out. Does this interest you? Personally, I'd really love to see some sort of cellular access right on the camera. I think that would be awesome. Fewer apps and devices, the less we have of these, the more reliable our backup's going to be, because we're less likely to forget something or have something go wrong. Like earlier today, I made a mistake on the camera and it didn't record, and I forgot to record on the audio, so I spent about an hour to get out a video that should have only taken 30 minutes. In today's commentary, I want to focus on mirrorless versus DSLR. I did put out a video recently, well, a couple of months ago, talking about the difference between these two models, or these two different systems. For me, for the longest time, I couldn't care less. People said, oh, mirrorless is better, DSLR is dead. And I said, well, okay, what are the capabilities? What is different? People say, well, it's lighter. I said, well, okay, I don't really care about that, because the lighter the camera is, the harder it is to stabilize. And with Canon at the time, it didn't have any IBIS, so that weight actually helped. Well, Simon, it's smaller. They're like, well, yeah, I don't want smaller. I have big hands. My 70D is perfect. A camera much smaller than that, and it's hard to hold and balance properly. So those were not reasons that I was really interested in. And then I guess it came to about this year, and the rumors of the R5 and the R6, and these started to look good. And Sony's been producing great mirrorless cameras for a long time. Canon was really the last one to really jump into the mirrorless party, and they even admitted that in a financial earnings call. And that is why, to this day, Canon has some really great DSLR offerings. The 1DX Mark III, which is a flagship model, and then of course there's the 90D, and it's not the only camera, but the 90D has a lot of great capabilities, as you can see in this image here. I think the 90D is a really great camera for video. I would take the 90D over the EOS R and even the R6, at least with current cooldown periods and recording limits on the R6. If they eliminated those, then I'd definitely take the R6. But for Panasonic, for Sony, there really aren't any DSLR offerings that I would go for. And here I am now with the R5, and I've got to be honest with you, I really haven't noticed much of a difference in how I use the camera compared to my 70D. Yes, it's a full frame. Yes, it's got more features and I have to learn it, but the menu system that I interact with isn't any different. The live view doesn't act any different. The flip screen doesn't act any different. Yes, I've got more video modes. Yes, I've got more capabilities. But the only place where I really kind of notice any sort of difference, where it's taken me a bit of getting used to, and that's the electronic viewfinder. But everywhere else, I don't really feel much of a difference. And I think that's the whole point. When you're looking at this whole mirrorless versus DSLR argument, it's not about which technology is better. It's what are the capabilities you're looking for in a camera, and then finding out which cameras best deliver those capabilities for you. So yes, I have moved over to mirrorless, but I still have my 70D and I still use it. It's still a good camera. And for you, if you're considering what camera to get, ignore the whole mirrorless versus DSLR. The only thing you might want to do is watch the video where I do talk about lenses and the inventory of lenses. It depends on which company you're with. Nikon and Canon versus Sony, how many lenses are available on one platform versus the other. I know Canon very well. I know the FTZ adapter with Nikon, but with Canon, I can take all that existing EF glass, and with the adapter, which is how I'm filming this right now, I'm using the EF 51.2 with the adapter, and everything's great. So the whole mirrorless versus DSLR argument, it's a moot one. Anyone who tries to get you into that, kind of ignore that and just focus on the capabilities, because in this map that I created, you can see that there's great DSLR and great mirrorless cameras, and that's based on Canon. If we go over to Sony, then pretty well everything's mirrorless, because Sony moved over into mirrorless a long time ago, and if you're going to be getting any Sony DSLR cameras, well, they're going to be much older and not very capable. All right, let's take a look and see. I'm sorry, I'm going to use my iPhone here. My 70D, there wouldn't be enough light back here to get anything, so I do apologize for how jerky this looks. But as you can see here, this is my R5. We've been recording for 17 minutes, well, 18 minutes at this point, so I'm going to stop the record. And previously, I would only get about 5 or 10 minutes, so let's see if there's any change now. 10 minutes. So for me, shooting a long clip, nothing's really improved. I had 25 minutes to start, and now, after recording for 18 minutes, I've got another 10 minutes. That's 28. So that only gives me an extra 3 or 4 minutes or so, but Gordon did say that if you're shooting long clips, don't really expect a huge difference. But I'm still surprised because I'm not getting that 30 minutes I'm supposed to be getting based on 23 degrees Celsius or about 73 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm shooting in a basement. It's cold down here. It's below 70 degrees. It never gets above 70 because when it's really hot outside, that air conditioner is on all the time and it is like a freezer in here. And of course in the winter it gets even colder. So I'm wondering why I'm only getting 25 minutes to start because I'm supposed to get 30. But I did get another 10 minutes, but that's right where I'm supposed to be. So far, with Firmware 1.1, I'm not seeing any noticeable difference in my record times. But tomorrow, I'm going to be going down to the city, and I'm going to be picking up some camera gear or kit. Don't want to give away too much of what it is, but if you've been watching my videos for the past couple of weeks, you probably have a good idea. And what I would like to do is I'd like to take some shots downtown, I'd like to take some video, I'd like to do some vlogging, and I'm really curious to see how these overheat limits impact. The only problem? The weather doesn't look very good for tomorrow, so if it's one of those really rainy thunderstorm kind of days, I'll probably scrap that, just grab the gear, come home, and then wait for another nice day and get out there. But the problem with Ontario, Canada this time of year is the weather is anything but predictable, and we generally have more bad days than good, which is really terrible because all summer long I could probably count on one hand how many days we got rain. Whereas now, I can maybe count on on my hand how many days we're likely to get sun over the next 2 weeks. So hopefully the weather does cooperate and I have some great stuff for you, but I will do a video tomorrow after I get home with some unboxing, showing you what camera gear I have to test out over the next couple of weeks, and also my update to you on what it's like with this new firmware. Do I see a noticeable difference in record times for event stuff or run and gun? But that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win the Canon EOS R5. I've got the details in the description down below. But thanks so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. We'll see you again soon.